Welcome to Truth Report. Tonight, we peel back the layers of global conflict, exposing the hidden agendas and the power brokers operating behind the headlines. From the strategic choke points of the Red Sea to the shattered streets of Gaza, the theater of war is far more complex than it appears.
We'll uncover how the Red Sea crisis is fueling a geopolitical scramble for a non-state actor in the Horn of Africa, examine a significant shift in U.S. military presence in Syria, and question the ethics of a U.S. security firm seeking new contracts after overseeing deadly aid operations in Gaza.
We'll also look at a glimmer of hope, where art attempts to bridge the gaping divisions of Syria's war, before dissecting Russia's brutal escalation in Ukraine, deliberately timed with stalled peace efforts. Each story, a thread in a larger tapestry of power, profit, and persistent conflict.
These are not isolated incidents. They are interconnected manifestations of a world grappling with shifting alliances, economic imperatives, and the relentless pursuit of strategic advantage. Tonight, we connect the dots, exposing the uncomfortable truths.
Stay with us, as Truth Report investigates the true cost of these conflicts, and who truly benefits when the world is at war. Our first story takes us to a critical maritime crossroads, the Red Sea. While the world focuses on Houthi attacks, a deeper geopolitical game is playing out, centered on Somaliland, a self-declared state with immense strategic value, attracting the attention of regional and international powers.
Indeed, Alex. Reporting from Middle East highlights the burgeoning interest from nations like Israel and the UAE in Somaliland, a territory officially part of Somalia but operating independently since 1991. This isn't just about sovereignty, it's about access and control.
Somaliland sits directly on the Gulf of Aden, near the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, a global shipping choke point. With Houthi attacks disrupting the Suez Canal route, Somaliland's port of Berbera has become increasingly attractive as an alternative. It's a strategic goldmine.
The UAE's DP World has been operating Berbera port since 2017, making significant investments to develop it into a logistics hub. This expansion is part of a broader UAE strategy to control critical trade infrastructure across the Horn of Africa and beyond, projecting its regional influence.
But it goes beyond trade. As Middle East explains, Israel's interest in Somaliland is multifaceted. It's about countering Iranian influence in the Red Sea, gaining potential intelligence-gathering capabilities, and securing alternative trade routes, possibly even a land bridge to the Gulf of Aqaba.
This is a direct response to the evolving security landscape in the Red Sea. For Israel, a direct presence or strong alliance with Somaliland could provide a crucial outpost, enhancing its maritime surveillance and its ability to project power in a highly contested waterway.
And the recent Memorandum of Understanding between Somaliland and Ethiopia, offering Ethiopia naval base access in exchange for potential recognition, has only amplified Somaliland's strategic importance. It's a high-stakes gamble for recognition, leveraging its geography.
Somalia views this and any direct dealings with Somaliland as a blatant violation of its sovereignty. This sets the stage for increased regional instability, as major powers continue to exploit internal divisions for their own strategic and economic gain.
So, who benefits here? Primarily Israel and the UAE, gaining strategic leverage, economic corridors, and military positioning. Somaliland hopes for international recognition and investment, but at what cost to regional stability and international legal norms?
The losers are clear: Somalia, whose territorial integrity is continually undermined, and potentially the broader region, which faces further militarization and proxy competition. The pursuit of economic and security interests by external powers often comes at the expense of local populations.
This situation exemplifies the ruthless geopolitical scramble for control over vital global choke points. The Red Sea crisis isn't just about shipping lanes, it's about a new Cold War playing out in a vulnerable region, with Somaliland caught in the crosshairs, desperate for a seat at the international table.
It's a classic case of smaller nations being used as pawns in a much larger game, where the quest for maritime security and economic dominance overrides principles of sovereignty and regional stability. The real question is, how many more lives will be disrupted before these powerful players find common ground? Our next investigation shifts to Syria, where a significant power vacuum has been created. Al Jazeera reports that the Syrian army has taken control of the strategic al-Tanf military base, following the complete withdrawal of U.S. troops.
This marks a monumental shift in the regional balance of power. According to the Syrian Defense Ministry's statement on February 12, the handover was conducted amid coordination with the U.S. That phrase, Maya, raises more questions than it answers.
Coordination suggests a planned retreat, not a forced one. Al-Tanf, located at the critical juncture of the Syrian, Jordanian, and Iraqi borders, has been a thorn in the side of the Assad regime and its Iranian allies since the U.S. established it in 2016.
For years, al-Tanf served as a key outpost for training Syrian opposition forces against ISIS, but crucially, it also functioned as a strategic blockade against Iran's ambition to establish a contiguous land bridge from Tehran to Beirut, through Iraq and Syria.
The U.S. withdrawal signals either a dramatic shift in Washington's strategy regarding Iranian influence, or a concession in a larger, unannounced diplomatic exchange. The vacuum created will undoubtedly be filled, and not necessarily by forces friendly to U.S. interests.
Indeed. With the Syrian army now in control, backed by its Russian and Iranian patrons, the land bridge concept for Iran moves closer to reality. This empowers the Iran-led axis of resistance and potentially facilitates the movement of weapons and personnel across the region.
This withdrawal also casts a shadow over the future of counterterrorism efforts against ISIS remnants. While the U.S. claimed its mission was anti-ISIS, many saw al-Tanf's primary value as containing Iran. Losing that leverage is a significant geopolitical sacrifice.
So, who benefits? Clearly, the Syrian regime, Russia, and particularly Iran, which sees a major obstacle to its regional ambitions removed. Their sphere of influence expands, unchallenged by a direct U.S. presence at this critical intersection.
And who loses? The U.S. loses a key strategic outpost and its direct leverage against Iranian expansion. Regional allies like Jordan and Israel, who have long worried about Iranian entrenchment, may now feel more exposed to increasing instability on their borders.
This withdrawal is a stark indicator of a broader U.S. retrenchment in the Middle East, allowing Russia and Iran to solidify their influence. It represents a potential green light for the consolidation of an anti-Western axis in a region already simmering with conflict.
It's a transactional decision, sacrificing long-term strategic containment for what might be short-term diplomatic gains or a reallocation of resources elsewhere. But history shows, power vacuums in this region are rarely benign, they are almost always filled with escalating tensions.
Our next story exposes a disturbing pattern of profit and impunity in the heart of a humanitarian catastrophe. Middle East Eye reports that a U.S. security firm, which oversaw deadly aid distribution sites in Gaza, is now reportedly in talks for a future role in the besieged enclave.
This is an outrage, Alex. The firm in question, identified by reports as Constellus, a conglomerate that includes the notorious Blackwater brand, was reportedly responsible for security at locations where desperate Palestinians seeking aid were killed in mass casualty events, including the infamous Flower Massacre.
Let's be clear, a company associated with sites where civilians were killed while seeking food, is now being considered for lucrative contracts to secure a post-conflict Gaza. This isn't just a conflict of interest, it's a moral vacuum, an insult to the victims and a mockery of accountability.
According to the MEE report, these talks are underway despite the firm's documented involvement in operations that led to widespread condemnation and calls for investigation. This reveals a chilling disregard for human life and a prioritization of private profit over public safety.
The very idea that the same entity could profit from both the chaos and the subsequent stabilization of Gaza is grotesque. It highlights a system where private military contractors are insulated from the consequences of their actions, operating in an accountability void.
It raises critical questions about the nature of aid and security in conflict zones. When private firms, often with opaque operating procedures and dubious human rights records, become integral to humanitarian efforts, it fundamentally compromises their impartiality and safety.
Who benefits from this? Unquestionably, Constellus and its executives, who stand to gain millions from ongoing contracts, shielded by the legal ambiguities of operating in a war zone. And potentially, governments who can outsource risky operations and deflect blame.
And who loses? The Palestinian civilians, whose safety and dignity are repeatedly violated. The principles of international humanitarian law are eroded, and accountability for civilian deaths is systematically undermined, creating a cycle of impunity.
This is corporate wrongdoing on an international scale, facilitated by a system that allows private entities to profit from human suffering with minimal oversight. It's a stark illustration of the military-industrial complex extending its reach into humanitarian aid, fundamentally corrupting its purpose.
The implication is clear: in the modern theater of war, even humanitarian crises are opportunities for profit. Until we demand transparency and rigorous accountability from these private security firms, the cycle of violence, exploitation, and impunity will continue unabated. Now, for a moment of resilience amidst the devastation. From Aleppo, Al Jazeera brings us a story that offers a stark contrast to the relentless geopolitical maneuvering and corporate profiteering we've just discussed.
In a city synonymous with unimaginable destruction and division, an artist's collective named Tashkil, meaning formation, is using art as a powerful tool to bridge the deep religious and political divides left by years of brutal conflict.
The video report highlights how artists from different backgrounds are coming together to create, to heal, and to envision a future beyond the war. It's a grassroots effort, focusing on human connection in a landscape scarred by conflict and ideological rifts.
This isn't just about aesthetics, it's a profound act of defiance against the forces that sought to tear Syria apart. By collaborating, by sharing their perspectives through sculpture and painting, these artists are actively rebuilding social fabric, one brushstroke at a time.
Aleppo itself is a symbol. A city that endured siege, bombardment, and widespread displacement, now becoming a canvas for reconciliation. It reminds us that even when political solutions seem distant, human beings inherently seek connection and meaning.
This collective is effectively creating safe spaces for dialogue and expression, allowing individuals to process trauma and find common ground. Their work transcends the official narratives of victory and defeat, focusing instead on the shared human experience of suffering and recovery.
Who benefits from this? The Syrian people, primarily those who yearn for peace and unity. These artists and their communities are reclaiming their agency, finding a way forward when state-level politics remain gridlocked and international intervention often exacerbates problems.
Who loses? Those who profit from division and perpetuate conflict. The warlords, the external actors whose power relies on sectarian strife, they are challenged by the quiet, powerful act of creation and collaboration happening in Aleppo's studios.
This story underscores the power of soft diplomacy and cultural exchange, emerging from the very heart of the trauma. It's a powerful counter-narrative to the endless cycle of violence, demonstrating that even amidst rubble, the human spirit strives to rebuild and unite.
It shows that while governments and corporations wage wars, humanity seeks peace. The art in Aleppo is not just beautiful, it's a profound statement of hope and resilience, a testament to the fact that even in the darkest times, people will always find ways to connect and heal. Finally, we turn to the ongoing war in Ukraine, where Russia continues its relentless aggression, seemingly indifferent to diplomatic efforts. The South China Morning Post reports a fresh barrage of Russian missiles and drones launched at Ukrainian cities overnight.
This widespread assault on Ukrainian infrastructure and civilian areas, reported on Thursday, comes directly as peace talks appear to be stalling. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky explicitly stated that Moscow is hesitating about another round of US-brokered negotiations.
The timing is not coincidental. Russia consistently employs a strategy of negotiating from a position of strength, attempting to inflict maximum damage and psychological pressure on Ukraine even while discussions of peace are on the table. It's a brutal tactic.
Zelensky mentioned that Washington has proposed new negotiations next week, potentially in Miami or Abu Dhabi. The fact that Abu Dhabi, in the UAE, was the location of the last meeting adds another layer to the UAE's burgeoning role as a global diplomatic and economic player, as we saw with Somaliland.
This relentless missile and drone campaign aims to degrade Ukraine's military capabilities, exhaust its air defenses, and break the will of its people. It's a direct message to Kyiv and its Western allies: Russia intends to dictate terms, not compromise.
The attacks also serve to disrupt any economic recovery or stability Ukraine might achieve. Targeting energy infrastructure, residential areas, and industrial sites ensures a prolonged humanitarian crisis and immense reconstruction costs.
Who benefits from this cycle of violence and stalled diplomacy? Clearly, Russia aims to benefit from military gains and increased leverage in any future negotiations. The global arms industry also profits immensely from the continuous need for weaponry and defense systems.
On the losing side are the Ukrainian civilians, who endure constant terror, death, and displacement. The prospects for a just and lasting peace are consistently undermined, and the principles of international law are brazenly violated with each strike.
This ongoing conflict highlights the profound challenges of international diplomacy when one party, in this case, Russia, weaponizes negotiations and uses military escalation as a bargaining chip. It exposes the fragility of peace in a world where great power ambitions clash.
The international community is left in a perpetual state of reaction, struggling to find a pathway to peace while facing a belligerent actor seemingly committed to a war of attrition. The cost, as always, is paid in Ukrainian lives and the erosion of global stability.
Maya, looking at these 5 stories, a clear and disturbing pattern emerges: a world increasingly fractured, driven by the relentless pursuit of strategic advantage and profit, often at the expense of human life and international norms.
Absolutely, Alex. From the Red Sea to Ukraine, we see a cynical game of geopolitical chess. The US withdraws from al-Tanf, creating a vacuum instantly filled by Russia and Iran, while simultaneously, Israel and the UAE carve out new spheres of influence in the Horn of Africa through Somaliland.
And central to this tapestry of conflict is the disturbing trend of privatization. A US security firm, linked to deadly aid operations in Gaza, now negotiating future contracts there. It's a stark reminder that war is big business, even humanitarian crises are monetized.
This privatization of conflict and aid fundamentally undermines accountability. When private entities profit from chaos, and then profit from stabilizing that very chaos, the lines between combatant and humanitarian become dangerously blurred, and suffering becomes a commodity.
Meanwhile, diplomacy struggles. Russia launches missile barrages while peace talks stall, using brute force to gain leverage. It's a clear message: military might dictates terms, not negotiation. This mirrors the aggressive posturing seen in the Red Sea.
Yet, amidst this grim reality, the human spirit persists. The artists in Aleppo, using creativity to bridge deep divisions, remind us that resilience and the desire for unity are powerful forces, often overlooked by those fixated on power and profit.
These aren't disparate events. They are symptoms of a global system where corporate interests, national security ambitions, and regional power struggles converge, leaving civilians caught in the crossfire, their lives a mere statistic in the grand calculations of geopolitics.
The interconnectedness is undeniable. The Red Sea crisis impacts global trade, which impacts economies, which fuels geopolitical scrambles, which in turn leads to exploitation by private actors. It's a vicious cycle, often hidden from plain sight, but with profound consequences for us all.
The truth is, the forces driving these conflicts are rarely simple and never without profound human cost. We must demand transparency, accountability, and a re-evaluation of the priorities that continue to fuel these devastating wars.
Our responsibility as citizens is to look beyond the headlines, to question the narratives, and to hold those in power, whether state actors or private corporations, responsible for their actions and the devastating impact on human lives.
For Truth Report, I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Thank you for joining us. Good night.